Hi, who are you? Please introduce yourself, like what your affiliation with me.
Well, you're my son. I'm your mother. My name is Rowena Norman.
Okay, who influenced you most in life?
Well, I should say there's a lot of people that actually influence me, but the most is my mother, Stella Reyna.
Why did she influence you? Or what, more of like, how did she influence you?
Well, I can tell you she's a good mother. She's a very, very good mother. There's six of us in the family. I'm the oldest one. She's very hardworking.
How did she influence you, though?
She influenced me in a way that she showed me as I was growing up that because she's a good mother and she's a very hardworking mother, then I would be just like her. I would be working hard to make sure that I will be able to provide good stuff for my family. Not good stuff, but at least the one, is there something what they call you need and something what they call they want. So at least the primary needs of my family, I would be able to do that, with your father.
What were like the primary needs? And
Well,
like, how did you help out in the family?
as I was growing up, both my parents were working, and actually, my mother at first she wasn't working. From the time I was a little kid till I was like maybe 8 years old, and then she started setting up a business, which is a little restaurant, and they also run like a recycling business, while your grandfather was working for a company, which is an American company. It's called Procter and Gamble. He was working as a driver there. So my mother was busy with her business. My father was busy with his, job. So I got five siblings, and I'm the oldest one. So I ended up helping out. Actually, all of us ended up helping out with my mother's business, except that in my parents' absence, I ended up acting like the second parent of my brothers and sisters. And I remember doing it from the time I was 10 years old. And your aunt, who is, I'm 11 years older than her, so she was like 1 year old. She was a baby.
Did did you feel like you grew up too fast?
Yeah, I did. But at the same time, at that time, I really didn't appreciate that because, I didn't have a lot of time playing. I didn't need friends because I got my siblings. We're very close. We're very close, tight family. And we're like your Aunt Linda, she's a year younger than me. And then your Aunt Ruby, she's 3 years younger than me. So we're like the playmates. But we're not just playing, all of us, we learned how to be more responsible. I was assigned to do the cooking, and your Tita Linda assigned to do all the washing of clothing, and then your Tita Ruby was assigned to do the cleaning of the house. So as we grow up, I became like the cook, and then your Tita Ruby became like the cleaner, and Tita Linda became like, you know, a clothes washer. We have our own assignment as we grow up as household chores, and we're not only just doing the household chores. We are required to bring home good grades. So our lives were really our schedule as we grow up is like you know comprises of both um, responsibility at home and responsibility at school.
What were your like? Besides, was there anything that you're also responsible for besides cooking?
Well, I'm responsible to bring home good grades.
I meant more of like to keep your family going.
To keep our family growing, because my mom, she actually hired some people to help her with the business. But because of the money thing, sometimes when you run your business, you can't trust other people as far as money. So she actually taught us how to run the business. I was really good in math when I was growing up. Your Tita Ruby, who's now a nurse, is actually good in math. So before I went to college, I was actually running the business. My mother was a cook of a little restaurant that she owns. So I learned from that too. both of us helping each other. And my aunt, she hired one of her sister, my mother's sister, to help her with the cooking. So I kind of learned how to run the business too. And your aunt Ruby, um, in my absence, she would take over, especially when I went to college after finishing high school, because my mother, she thought that at that time, which I think she was right now, she didn't want me to attend college in my little barrio. She wanted me to be going to the city because at that time all the jobs were in the city, not in the barrio. So she sent me to a university in Manila, which is called Polytechnic University of the Philippines. And that Polytechnic University of the Philippines is known for business school. So I was taking bachelor bachelor in accountancy. So I turned out after finishing it, I became a CPA.
Can you explain what a barrio is?
A barrio is a little town. There are like 300 people, 350 people at that time when I was growing up. There were like 350 people in my town. Most of us are related, not related, but somehow related.
Like cousins
Like
or
cousins, first cousins, second cousins, and if they're not your relative, you consider them relatives too because you kind of grew up together. You know everybody's parents, you know everybody's grandparents. It was fun.
so it was like a mini neighborhood.
Yeah.
Like how big is a barrio? Like if you could explain it like something here.
A barrio is like
Is it like a block or
a barrio is more like half of La Crescenta.
okay, and you knew everyone there.
I know everybody. We know who graduated from high school. We know all the stories that's happening. We know who has new babies. You know, it's like we know everybody. Everybody respects everybody. You know.
Did you learn anything living in this barrio? Like,
Well, there is community. Unlike in LA, like you don't know a lot of people. You know people that you work with, and if you're in school, you know your classmates, but you don't know who's the grandparents of who. In our barrio, there's a community, so it's like, you know, you pass when you walk on the street, you know everybody on the street because we grew up in the same place.
did you, when you went to college and like knowing these people their whole life and being influenced by these people in your whole life, did you feel a bit out of place when you went to college?
Yeah, but normally you adjust. You adjust to your environment. It's not like at first, yeah, you feel kind of sad, but then you meet other people and you meet other, even though Philippines is a small country, there's several, like, well, actually, in history it says there are like 7,000 plus little islands in that little country. So even that little island, it has different dialects and it has different culture. And like if you go far, far south, you will meet people who are Muslims or different religion than us. We're from the north, so we're Catholic. Most of the people from the Philippines are Catholic, but you'll find people that are Muslims, and you'll find out that these Muslim people are actually just like you. There's no difference, except that they believe in different God, but they're nice people, and.
Okay, did you like dialects? Could you understand them? Like, was it understandable or like?
Well, we don't understand. Well, if you in the Philippines, if you go to school, the main um, dialect that they teach is Tagalog, and also English. So you have all these textbooks. Like when I was in college, right? I have a roommate who is a Muslim. She doesn't know Tagalog, but she knows English. So we talk to each other in English. That's why we understand each other.
What dialect did she know?
I don't know. It's some kind of it's different from mine. It's not Tagalog. She never learned Tagalog, but she's really fluent in English.
Did you learn anything from like were you, like, from the influences in your life, did you learn anything about them? Like some, instead of like something that they taught you, is there something that you learned by watching them?
Okay, this is like what I learned from my mother, because there's six of us in my family, right? I got two brothers and three sisters, and the income wasn't not that. The income wasn't, you know, it's not a lot because in the Philippines the cost of living is very high, right?
Yeah.
So
Wait, it is?
it is very high, the cost of living.
Okay.
And let me tell you how high it is. When I was in college, they only make in the Philippines, they only make, if you work in the office, they only make 68 pesos a day,
Which is in
which is
American
like
dollars.
$3. At that time, it was $3 a day. Okay, 68 right now. If you convert 68 pesos to a dollar is one right at this moment, like this year, is $1.50. $1, and that's a whole income for the whole day. If you have six kids and you're only making $3 a day at that time, well, it means that's only enough for your food, right? There's no extras. So, considering we get six of us in our family, and your parents are only making 60, at that time my parents are actually making a lot more because your grandfather works for Procter and Gamble. My mom has two businesses, okay? So we were kind of lucky because we're making more than most people made at that time. So, but we're not making really a lot. Or your grandmother was able to send me to college, you know, without me working full time. I was a full time student, but I work once in a while on the summer, okay? And I help her when I get home in her business. But your Tita Linda she was also in college the same time I was in college. Your Tita Ruby was in college the same time I was in college. And then we got three high schools, your Tita June, your Tita Bong, and Tita Reggie. So we got three high schools and three college. Your grandma and your grandpa was actually sending all of us to school. But your grandmother is very strong in education, you know. She would save all her money so we could have brand new uniform on our school days. Okay? And we have brand new, so she's really into like school days, the beginning of the school, and Christmas, because that's the only time we get new clothes. In between that, we don't get new clothes.
So, because of this, like, is being financially, like, being, I guess, financially stable, is that one of the things that she taught you to be?
No, well, because our relationship, as far as the family relationship, we're okay. Okay, the only thing that we're missing at that time is we don't have a lot of money. We don't have enough money to ourselves. So because we're very tight with money, I learned how to save. Okay, and I learned how to prepare for the rainy days. Do you know what rainy days means?
Yes.
Okay, so it means if in the Philippines, when you can prepare for rainy days, it means that's the day we don't work and we don't go to school because usually when it rains, it floods, so you can't get out of your house. So if you need to prepare for rainy days, it means you have to have some money with you. So when you're not working, you have money for food and you have money for school, okay? And that's the only thing your grandmother is really strong at. She wanted us to have all education because in the Philippines, it's totally different from the States. In the Philippines, if you don't have any education, then you don't have any way to compete. You can't compete because everybody was going to school, even though they're so poor and they don't have enough money for food, they go to school. It's a big thing because the parents, they believe that if you let your kid out there, she needs or he needs to have enough education to compete with other kids. That's the only time. That's the only way to survive. So as you know, a lot of Filipinos are well educated. Okay, it's not for us to be rich. It's just for us. It's our way of surviving. So your grandmother, her influence to me is I'm doing it to you. I want you to have a good education. Because at the end of all this, we don't have money, but then hey, no one can take away the education from you, right? No one. Once it's given to you and once you got it, it's yours. It's all yours. No one can get it away from you. It's the same thing what my mother told me. You know, she wanted me to get education because if she goes, if she pass, then that education is mine. No one can take that away from me, right?
Yeah, so your mother teaching you these skills, do you still use these skills throughout your whole life? Like, are there things that, like, skills that she taught you, or, like, how she taught you as a child? Is there things that
Well, she taught
you
me.
kept and some things that, like, you didn't keep in life that, like,
Well,
applies to today?
well, it applies. I think my mother's influence is actually a good influence because it taught me how to be. Well, first of all, as far as skills, she taught me how to be a good cook, which I think your father would agree with that, and you would. I don't know about you, but your father would. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I was a vegan, yeah.
Your father would agree on that, and I think my mother would too, that I'm a good cook. And then second, my mom is very strong in education, and I think that's my influence to you too, because I keep on pushing you, do your education, because other than education, there's nothing left. You get your education, you get a good job, and you're on your own. I want you to be a very, you don't need to be very successful, but I want you to be able to be a productive citizen of this country. And that's my job. Your job is to make sure that you do your part. My job is to make sure that to be a good parent, your job is to make sure that you take care of yourself, because at the end of all this, whatever you do is for you.
Okay. Last question. What value or lesson did you feel that was the most important that your mom taught you?
Well,
Like, something that was higher than everything else.
my mother is a very caring person. She always cared for all of us. She'd take care of us before of herself, and hopefully that I would do the same thing to you, that you feel the same thing that I do for you. Um,
So,
she's very strong in education, and I know, and you know, that I'm really good in educate. I'm really strong in education too. It's not an option for her.
did you feel that, like, so do you feel that
I'm not.
education is the most important, or caring for someone is the most important?
Well, they're all important, and I think we're both getting it. I think I'm a very caring person, and not only to you and to all my siblings. I mean, you see me taking care of both my parents at their old age. And I have to tell you, your grandparents are not going to a nursing home. You know what? If I'm still alive, they will come, and they will take care of them. And all of us, all my siblings feel the same thing. Okay?
Okay.
They will be provided at their old age. I don't know if that's going to happen to me because you're my only kid. But at the same time, to me, it's more like they took care of me. It's my just way of, you know, paying back to them to take care of them when they're old. And you see me how I take care of them. I take them to the
Yeah.
doctors, and if I'm not available, one of your uncles, or your uncle or your aunt will go with them to be taken care of. And my mother did the same thing as I was growing up. Every little thing, she takes us to the doctor. She's a very good mother, and hopefully, one of these days you figure out that I am